Well, you usually get what we want. Anyways, win or lose.
Okay, then you and Zach are doing the draws.
Yeah.
Okay.
Morning, Sheldon. Morning.
It's gonna die. You have to press the bottom.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I thought it was that too for a while.
Well, that makes no sense because you have to go up and down. You didn't charge it last week? I'm good.
No.
Oh.
I haven't charged it since I got it, so it's pretty big challenge. Now we can always just borrow Sheldon's old again.
I haven't charged mine yet either.
Uh-oh. It's gonna be a battle.
Hope it does. Which one has the longer battery life? I'm guessing that. It's got a bigger battery.
It's massive.
This is a two-hander.
Or just one if you held it properly.
If you do two-handed, it's more stability.
Okay, buddy. Blake, you need a new head. Hold on now. Look at that. Check this out.
I have one.
Yeah, I have lots. I can give you one. You want one?
We've been communicating for a couple weeks by
I would switch it up.
yeah, we have to be back right away.
We have like.
Yeah,
I think I put this one on. I think I could use this one.
Hey, morning.
Yeah, it's been fairly clean. Yeah, I've only gone through one head so far.
I haven't seen anything fixed or
No,
There was only one of those.
I think one of mine taped once. I think it was actually on a takeout too.
Yeah, it was. Because you know it just picked up and then it
Yeah. Like it's probably running about three rotations and it just went like 4. I was like, no. First and blue.
Where are you from?
Greetings.
Oh, okay.
What's the result?
Would you have an uncle that curls in Winnipeg?
First in blue. Second in blue.
3 or 4 nights a week. I curl against him in the Fort Gary.
That would have to be Uncle Kelly.
Okay, yeah. Okay, come on. We'll go
He curled
4 times a week.
Yeah, he does for a lot.
Head.
Go.
Yes.
Sheldon. First in yellow.
I was never a fan of stretching.
Too early in the morning. Did we win the cup? What difference? We don't
Maybe they're actually good and they lost their big game.
Actually, this would be a three-way tie with 3 and 1 for also.
Did Van Russell message?
Yeah, Van Rice will win again.
And Bo
Oh, so they must have won last night then.
Van Rice wins, Moser loses, and get that 7.
Yesterday, my girlfriend likes the post that came up with Dan's on.
Yeah, that nice loves to be cooked.
Yeah, that's definitely possible.
Yeah.
Every team can beat any team, right, Roman?
Like he just says.
Yep.
And so I gotta make sure I got
Except
that
like-
logo on the bottom versus my own.
Unless it's like hockey or
It's
something.
like somebody who wouldn't have had a hot.
I'm more like, or it's like swimming and like, oh, you're in it. We're racing Michael Phelps or something.
I feel like you could beat Michael Phelps if he broke his ankles.
Even then, he would beat you with his arms.
Yeah.
Break his arms then.
One, probably. He's like 6'2". He would like just beat you in a fight. Like you're not gonna beat him.
It's called crowbar.
Yeah, sure. But he's asleep.
Crowbar-like items.
Crazy.
Huh?
Crowbar-like items.
A blunt item like a crowbar.
He did it wrong.
Where's the buy right now?
Olsen. Oh, you okay?
I'm not weak, so yeah.
Yo. Yo, bro, he was like hitting his head. He was like doing that, yes.
Hey, good morning.
Prime dealer.
Pardon me?
Hey, prime drink
Oh,
today.
yeah, you sure do. Hottest ticket.
I know, what is that
Yeah.
frame rate? It should be.
Please for this
Is
draw.
there our game being streamed?
Please for this draw.
It looks like.
Yeah. I'm not sure what he's doing. I don't know. Morning.
Morning.
How you doing? You're
Yeah,
not
well.
streaming this draw, are you?
Yes.
Oh, you are? Oh, okay.
Bonus draw.
Oh,
it is.
perfect. There you go.
Cheap one?
Yes.
Look at that. Tell everyone. Tweet it out. Tell everyone. Who handles the Team Pearson account? Your mom?
Yeah.
There you go. Altona Curling Club on YouTube. Tune in.
And also on computers and Instagram.
With no commentary. The no commentary feed.
That's right.
Team Peterson.
Wait, everything like that.
So what is it, the Altona Curling Club?
I don't think so.
I think, yeah.
YouTube
yeah.
Altona Curling Club. You just have to press the live button.
Yeah.
On the screen. I kind of took over,
Well, that's okay.
but I won't be there, so.
You're good. You're good. I only need one chair anyway. You each haven't practiced yet, right? This is the first practice stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. You have time to have a little short conversation and put it in somewhere.
All the stuff is
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Romance, all the stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, they're all.
I suppose I heard that.
Test 1, 2, 3.
did they?
the cable here, yeah.
Where was
Alex
it?
and I did.
Where is it?
Oh, you know what? On this side, it's up above the tiles.
above
But
the
if you go on the ice level, you'll be able to
You can see
where
it, yeah. Morning, Sheldon.
Morning.
I have something for you. It's not necessarily for you, but for your daughters.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping that you could give that to me.
I can. I can.
If you'll see them, I don't know if
You don't know I will. They're at home. Plus,
Okay.
apparently, I need
Are
one of
you
these now
coaching
too.
them? Yeah.
Apparently.
I got an email from Lauren, and I assumed that you would be the person that they were referring to. You got called up to the big leagues again.
Well, Glenn's not available, so I'm the sloppy second, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah. Glenn Howard won't do that, I guess. I guess Dad can come back for one more.
Yeah, I think he had his own provincials or something going.
Yeah, probably. That's good. So I don't know. There should be. I think there's 10 Scotties crests in there and 12 RME crests. I don't know if that's enough for you, but if you need more, because I'm assuming how we do it is like we have 8, so 4 main players get 2, but I know there's 5 of them that would be rotating, so that would be the 10.
Okay.
So you would need an 11th one essentially, right?
Okay, yeah.
So I'll get you an extra.
Okay. If you have even like, an extra on top of that, because I know they.
Yeah, I could get you 2 more.
Yeah.
Not a big deal.
No, that'd be good. And you need both on?
Yeah.
And which one goes on Scotty's on the left?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I'm so bad at that.
It always
yes,
was.
I think
Yeah,
so. Yeah, I
Scotty
think
was
it's
always
guys on the left.
And the RME, that's a new one.
Yeah, it's just a circular. It's the same size as the Bayer one used to be, just a different company.
Okay. I got 10 on that day.
It's pretty quick out there.
It is.
Yeah.
It's gonna be quicker and straighter again today.
Yeah.
Did you want my massage gun?
I got it right here.
No, you got it.
Where does everyone stay in?
The guys are at our place.
Yeah.
Parents are all at the hotel.
Nice.
Yeah, they took over our basement. It works. Like,
That's awesome.
a couple of bedrooms, the rec room. They got the
Yeah,
Xbox. They got their own fridge
keep them down there. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
That's perfect.
I think it's worked out pretty good, isn't it?
Oh, it's been fun.
Anybody else?
Get to
need
bed
it?
early, I'm sure, eh?
Really early.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, real early.
Nobody's needs this thing?
I wish.
Well, I got about a 10-second delay on what I see live and what people see. So.
Yeah.
So I can tell the future. This one looks like it's going to be 4 foot, full 4 foot.
Are you announcing too? Like you're doing?
Yeah.
Oh, nice. Too bad you can't hook up into the camera feeds from outside.
You can.
I do, yeah. I
Oh,
have
you do.
them.
You do have that.
He just
Yeah.
has an extra camera now.
Oh, you got
Yeah,
three
this,
going.
yeah, because that way, because the far ones aren't as good. They don't go to
They
the
don't.
hog line.
Yeah, yeah.
The near ones you could probably do a game and it would be okay. Just at both full hog lines.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah,
just
those
talk
cameras
about
are
the
great.
burn in
Yeah.
between.
Well, they're brand new, I guess.
That's what
New,
Quinn was saying.
new
Yeah.
tech and
But I can't believe how clear the picture is on the home end.
it's like full
Yeah,
high,
this
is-
high definition.
Yeah, the home end is nice. And I guess they could probably do something similar now that they see that the sun's
Yeah.
better. Yeah, or maybe have some people picking up the stream if they're going to be tired of looking up against the wall
13.9.
trying to see this game.
Yeah, 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13.9. 13
Quiet. Just because I've had you on the air more than once, and your daughters, soon to be your son, somewhere down the road.
I hope
As
so.
long as he does something before I retire, then we'll be good. Okay, where am I here? 204.
801.
Tuesday morning,
Mhm.
this week in curling.
1119.
It's always on Southern Manitoba Radio. No.
So you have one job for you.
Soon they'll
4
expand the
o'clock draw.
TikTok channel.
Unfortunately,
What's
he's
Soon they'll
playing
expand
this
to
morning.
TikTok.
Yeah, bro.
Portage Station one picture.
Then you'll hear.
Yesterday I took one and didn't even think of it until like later in the day. I should have taken one. But I did take one of his third
Here's your
on the ice
curling
watching the rock go down. So they
cadets.
used that this morning. But I think, if possible, if you can
Test
flip your
1 2
phone
3. Test 1 2 3.
and just get them coming out of the hack type of thing, and he text it to me. I'll send it to Portage if they want to use it, and then so it'll be the 4 o'clock drop.
Yeah, I can do that.
And then I will be here for the final tomorrow. Is Resby here today, or is he coming up
Tomorrow. He'll be here
Okay.
tomorrow, yeah.
Okay. All right. Then we'll
You'll just be here for the final?
just the final.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll. Are you handing out
15-4.
kind of a little thank you plaque to the host committee?
I think we have one.
Okay.
Here. Yeah, yeah.
Good, because I'll get that. And
Yeah.
I want to talk to her.
Oh, where's
Keith gets enough airtime with you.
Yeah.
So
It's pretty
rather
yeah, so if they get like 12
do
or
that, and then we
something
can
like
take a
that,
picture while you're on the ice of the 3 of you, or whatever,
Yeah.
however it works, and then
Yeah.
go from
Maybe
there.
Craig, Craig might be out here. He might
Oh,
be-
of course. Why wouldn't he? Yeah, you bet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Having Cameron
Then
person
that
is not.
that'll work. And your tiebreaker, there is none, so I'm guessing head to head. And then if there's 3 teams or more, it'll be.
Last one, bro. Yeah.
Okay. I'll just check the website to see what.
Those the,
Yeah.
And if there's an issue with the website, if I do have your
Yeah,
number, I
you
can just
can
say,
text me.
who's playing who. Blah,
Resby
blah.
does all the time.
yeah, they
Red
did before
V.
they do the button thing. But
Yeah,
they
no
don't
worries.
always, they don't always
exactly.
change
Good.
it until
We get hammered.
a little later.
They
Or
come in and
sometimes
hit.
we get it.
So just play the first.
Lots of things.
Because I
If
also
we
want.
don't
I,
get hammered, do we
And very nice that it's a 1 o'clock final.
if we don't,
Yeah.
I think we come.
Especially on New Year's.
New Year's
okay
Eve.
with
So.
We put that into consideration.
Oh, I had to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if your hair's light.
Now, when the juniors was here, and they used this and next door.
Yeah.
Wasn't it around that same?
Those
It
seem
was the
like
same
they're,
week, but I don't think it ended on New
That was
Year's.
good lead.
They used to sometimes start the juniors like the first day was New
Early
Year's.
January
Yeah.
it ended, I
Yeah.
think, like 3rd or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's right.
This one's got a little more weight to it.
Looks close. It's gonna come down. Yeah. Wait for it. Wait for it. There it goes. 14-9.
Oh, yeah. That should be good.
Good luck, guys. Have fun.
You.
All right.
Piece of the butt.
Let's put some pressure on, guys.
Let's do it. Dennis, how are you?
I'm doing fine. How you doing, Clayton?
How's it going? We're good.
Pretty quick there already.
We will be starting the streaming in about 5 minutes for those of you that are listening in already.
Yeah.
He has it. He did a.
Okay, question for you.
Two walls
Yep.
the other day that we didn't share with anybody. It was just
In the
like
event
a
of
tie. Last night they were drilling that hole.
how is that? Are we looking at the possibility of tiebreakers or no?
No tiebreaker draws for this. So it's just head to head and then last
So
one.
yeah, he's gonna do
No
this
games.
game and then all the playoffs.
Okay,
So you're off the hook on that. You don't have to have like a 9:30 p.m. draw.
for one game.
Yeah.
Well, we were just talking in the back room there, because there's potential with
Yeah.
the girls' draw that you could have three teams at 3-1.
On
So
both
two of
sides.
them-
On both sides.
On both sides,
On
yeah.
both
So
sides.
2 of them would advance based off. They would all be insolvable ties. They would all beat each other. So they would advance based on the last one. No tiebreaker. more so at the younger level, because that's kind of what it's going to be moving forward. So it's the older generation that has the issue with it because they grew up obviously with having tiebreakers, which I'm not saying is a bad thing, but these kids it's easier to get rid of. They don't know the difference. They're okay with it being last stone draw.
Okay, then I know.
Yeah, and you don't have to worry. You're good.
No, I wasn't worrying.
Yeah.
I was just trying to, in my mind here, especially if I need to arrange for if there's additional draw, whether I need to bring in crews.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And yesterday was okay.
Yeah, it was okay. I mean, I had an extra, and then I had a little breakdown with my
I saw it. Yeah. So what happened? Just piece came loose, or was it adjusting?
Yeah, it wasn't adjusted. I would try and adjust it, and then it would go back to whatever it was. So it was a nut that was spinning that I couldn't lock enough. So it was like a 40-cent nut that I put on there to lock it. And so
Yeah, and
now
then
we're
it's
going.
worked. Yeah.
Morning, Gord.
Good morning, how are you?
Good.
Good morning. There's one game
Wow.
that's not hard on the draw.
Which one's
I
that?
think Wall and put on there.
So do we need to install those points? Like I remember we had installed.
For triangulation?
Yeah, for triangulation.
We would need to install.
Okay.
And it,
You are correct.
Good morning. We are just starting the draw for the opening day on Friday, and a lot is still up in the air, both on the men's and the women's draw. The game that we're going to be featuring today will be Robbins against Peterson, and they're just starting it off with the second stones right now.
edge of 4 and the center line.
That's local player Logan Zacharias with the delivery,
This should be at 90 degrees.
and we have a little bit in front of the house.
Center pin anyway.
Looks like Peterson's got a corner guard. And Robbins is attempting to go behind it. So as far as things are going in terms of the standings, quite interesting on the men's draw. Even though Robbins is only 1-3 at this point, they actually have a good, well, not an amazing chance, but they have a shot at making the playoffs. If they were to win both their games today, then they would just need help from Freeman, who is the top player, to beat Sugden, and they would be in the mix in what could likely be a four-way tie at 3-3 for that third and final playoff spot. So they still have an outside chance, and in some way you could say it's mostly up to them. They have to win their two games and just get some help from the top team in the draw. So not out of the realm of possibility that we could have a big mess at the end of the day to try to figure out who gets that third spot. So I should also let you know about how this works in terms of the cameras. We have one camera that is at ice level, which you're seeing right now, and that helps and is beneficial over most of the games. But we also have the end cameras, so you can see what the house looks like. And normally when we switch from one to the other, there is a delay, and you will see a temporary dark screen for maybe 3 or 4 seconds. And when that happens, it's just switching over to the camera. It's nothing you can do. We're going to look and see if we can figure out some way to reduce that here on our end. So now it's switched over. That's the house that you're seeing now on the far side of sheet number 1. And you can see that Robbins is counting 2. Both in the 4-foot, 1 full, 1 partially. I see I'm on the wrong one here. Just wondering, I didn't know where that rock came from. But it was actually, the houses were actually quite close to each other, so you'll see it now. Blue just played a hit and removed one of Robin's stones, at least partially, and that's what we're looking at now. So now Robin's calling on the third. Campbell looks like he's calling for a hit on the blue that is there. Keep things clean, keep control at the front of the house. And there you can see the shot being delivered. And it's a good hit and sticks on the side of the 12-foot. So right now things looking good. Robin's counting 3. They're all fairly out in the open, but certainly it looks good for a force for Robin's team. And now the third for Peterson. Nick Senf will deliver. The call is to hit the front rock. Perhaps double off the one in the back as well. And they do have a guard up front that you can't see on the screen, so they could also hit and roll behind the long corner guard that they put up earlier. Looks like they'll get a little bit to the inside, but just an inside nudge, basically nose. So it'll remain in the open. Although Robin has to be aware they have a catcher in the back, so they certainly want to hit this on the inside. An ideal shot would be hit and roll at least partially behind the corner guard. Looks like they're quite a bit on the outside, but they did manage to avoid both their rocks. So we'll have to see what Peterson will do. Yes, definitely put up the corner guard, so now we're going to use it. Still a 2 is in play then. If they can bury one here, then they can get Robin chasing. Always important to stick around on those hits, even if you have a couple others in the house. Sweepers are staying off it so far. Does curl a lot at the end, so you can even be around the guard by 1.5 feet or 2 feet, depending on how long the guard is, and you can still bury it. And that's partially buried, but short, so we'll take a look at that to see what it is in terms of first, second, third rock, or even short. It is outside the rings. So now Peterson will take the opportunity to try to draw around the rock that was just thrown. It's all right, Robbins will take the opportunity. Gives a better chance to see some of the deliveries that these teams have. All very in control. Very good mechanics. I'm sweeping on it early. Looks like it's going to be a little light. And yes, indeed it is. And it ends up just crossing the center line. And that will give the opportunity back to Peterson. So a 2 is still in play if they can bury one here. Let's skip Ronan Peterson. This team curling out of the heather. Taking a lot of ice near the edge of the 8-foot. And they're on it right away. It's got room on the guard, so there's room there. And it looks to be settling in nicely. Just right on the tee line. So a good shot. That does give the opportunity for Robbins to corner freeze that and possibly cut off, but of course you don't want to bounce. And ideally you want to be shot rock, so not much tolerance in the shot. The error would be to put it in the top of the 4-foot to make at least the draw for 2 more difficult. Okay. Giving their ice right on the edge of the 8. Now it's approaching the house. Looks like it might be a little bit wide. Just a little rub. So maybe just about a foot or 2 heavy of where he would have liked to have that rock. And that gives Peterson the opportunity to count as 2 right now. Robbins is shot, but Peterson has conceded the full rock and also has backing, so he would like to just throw a little bit heavier, maybe hack weight. Okay. Looks pretty close. Watch it come in now. And there it is, and perfect. So that's 2. Call it a skipper's deuce. And Peterson takes the early lead, 2-0 over Robbins. It's just an indication of how probably that hit and roll out earlier on changed it a bit for Peterson, allowed them to be the aggressor in that end as well. And that's the advantage of the corner guard. You have the opportunity to produce a deuce, even though you're a little bit behind in most of the end. You could just take advantage of it at the end, and that was because the 4-foot was open, and you could get your points in there. That's how it's supposed to work. When I try that in club curling, it doesn't always work that way. All right, so Robbins will now have the hammer. And again, you'll get a little bit of a delay before we can show you the home view for sheet number 1. So Peterson will be putting up a center guard. Just looking around at some of the other teams. Sugden has scored 1 in the first and leads 1-0 over Freeman. I'm sure Robin's team will not be looking over at that scoreboard, but they do need Sugden to lose 1 today for that scenario of a 4-way tie for third place, or if they want to get in or have a chance to get in. Obviously, they have to take care of business themselves, and that's the most important matter at hand. They don't have the luxury of watching other scoreboards. They have to think about their game and only their game. So they went a little deep, Peterson, so we'll be playing the hit. And they continue to exchange rocks here. Peterson is hitting and rolling out on theirs, so I can see that your stream is a little bit behind. I'll try to commentate the way that one looks. I don't want to make it look like I'm predicting the future all the time by calling the rocks that I actually see live, and you don't see them on the stream. So now you can see that Robbins is, or Peterson is removing that one, but they rolled out. And so Robbins will be electing to play the corner guard. That's the call. And here's the shot by Robbins. And now the corner guard is up exactly where they want it. So by looking at my screens now, I see I have 2 alternatives. I can either make the commentary go as well as it is in real time for you, and then everybody here in the lobby thinks I'm a shot behind, or I can call it like I see it, and then you think I'm a shot ahead. But I'll try to do this just for you, so I'll keep the commentary going the way it is. Robbins trying to get around the corner guard. Both teams having a little bit of difficulty with their draw weight. So Peterson now electing to eliminate the corner guard, which he does, but will leave a guard of his own. So now Robbins has another opportunity to go around the guard. Lots of room around the guard. See if they can get it partially buried. They want to leave it in front of the tee line. That's just as important at this point. They want to give Peterson an opportunity to get a steal in play. Peterson will be playing the hit. And that's Senf, the third for Peterson. Looks pretty good. And he hits and just rolls away an inch or two. So Robbins will attempt the same shot. Maybe looking for a little bit of an inside flop to get behind the corner guard. Also in the other game that's being played today between Pockler and Norris, Pockler has scored 1 in the first end and leads 1-0 early in that game. Looks like they have a good shot here. Oh, they left it a little bit too long, and they're off the front guard and will roll into the house. So leaves them something, but Peterson will eliminate that right away.
I'll send you that picture later.
So Sense with the hit. They're sweeping hard on this one. Trying to get it to stay. And they do. That makes it a tough double. It's pretty steep, so Robbins is electing to play the hit and roll on top of theirs in the 8-foot. That would be the ideal shot. Still looking for a possibility of 2. And at this point, the blank is still an option as well. Looks a little outside. Sweeping it to curl. Again, a piece, but not enough of a piece. So that one will hang around. So it definitely looks like a force is in the works, and if they're not careful, a steal. Right now, though, Robbins does have the entire house available to draw to, and would just need full 8-foot. But I'm sure Peterson will be looking at a way to try to cut that drawing path down. We'll give you an overhead view as they're going to speak with their coach. There it is. So that's what they're looking at. So it looked like Peterson motioned to a draw, basically on the tee line near the button. That would make it hard to have a double of any kind. They had looked earlier about putting one at the top of the house, maybe at the top of the 8, but I think they're a little concerned that with the way the ice swings, that Robbins could put one in the back of the 4 and still be mostly buried. So keeping it simple at this point, the force would be their objective. Sweeping cautiously, just cleaning it for the most part. Looks like it's pretty well where they want it. Sweepers don't seem too concerned. All right, and on the tee line, curled a little bit, maybe more than they wanted, and so there is a possibility for a double, or to hit and flop on top of the one that is on the right side of the 8-foot. So that would be the perfect shot that Robbins could play. It would be hard to be shot rock as well, so you'd have to corner freeze it or go for the double. Give you a little bit of an overhead view of that as well. There you see the rocks. No triple in play, no angles. That would allow that. And they're not going for it either. They're just going for a hit and roll. And I guess if he hits a little bit less of the rock to stick around, they might be able to get a double as well. They're on it fairly early to stop the curl. Yes, they're definitely inside. Well inside. Just ticked it a little bit. So another unforced error for Robbins. Off to a little bit of a shaky start. They certainly need to not give up anymore. It's a long game, but you don't want to get yourself behind too far early on. So now Peterson will try to apply more pressure. Have taken ice at the edge of the 8. And I didn't see where he placed his broom, but I imagine something that would be covering the draw to the 4-foot. Something maybe just biting the top of the 4. Something like that would make it very difficult for Robbins to score. And here it comes. Sweepers have laid off so far. Looks a little bit hotter than the other one. Now they're laying a brush to it. Maybe they decided they wanted to go. No, that's good weight. Good weight. It's basically on the button. A little bit back. Probably a couple of feet further than they would have liked. So now Robbins will play the hit and just wanting to hit and stick right there, and that would be enough for shot. But again, it's his comfort level in terms of which turn he's going to play. He's electing to go to the in turn. And his coach stands up and is giving him some advice. And let's see if it changes anything. Nope. So they will go with the in-turn hit on the button. And he needs to stick around. I mean, rolling out is disastrous. That would be a steal of 3. So very important for him to stay and to stay at least biting mostly the forefoot. You'd have to be half in to be shot. So big rock early here for Robbins. And here it comes. Sweepers are sweeping against the curl. Whoa. Calling him off, now on. That's usually a good sign. And yes. Nose hit to count 1. So big shot there early on in this game. If you're missing that one or hitting and rolling out, that's a 5-0 deficit. That's very hard to come back on it against a team as strong as Peterson. But now it's just 2-1, and they can battle their way back into the game. Even just to get a steal will put them back in even terms. Okay, so I see there's something interesting happening on sheet 3, so I will take a look at that one. We'll see if we can show this as well. And that's between Pockler and Norris. And right now it looks like Norris is counting 4. And at least 3 of them are fairly well protected. There might be a port to get to one of them. Maybe that's what they're looking at right now. And on the sheet to the right, give you even more bonus action there. In that sheet, Sugden is blue and Freeman is yellow. So Sugden is counting 1, frozen up against Freeman's yellow rock in the back of the 4. Freeman is playing a shot in there to try to rearrange things a little bit. And he will hit and stay right on the button. So he gets his 1 back in that end with a good shot. So after 2 ends, Freeman and Sugden are tied at 1. And we'll just finish off this end between Pockler and Norris. Zach Norris is the skip from the team from Morris. They curl in the circuit and are 11 and 10 there. Very respectable record since they play against teams that are older than under 18 as well. And the third for that team is Ethan Brandt. The second is Blake Good. And the lead is Carter Mamquist. So Pockler is attempting to go through the port. He did get through the port, but unfortunately did not stick around and will roll out. So I think that will leave Norris a free draw for 4. I believe that was Pockler's last rock. And that's what they are indicating. Anywhere in the paint will be worth 4. Pockler curls out of East St. Paul. Skip Nathan Pockler, third Benjamin McKenzie, second Alexander Mackling, and lead Brendan Mackling. They're still looking for their first win here. Heard a few of them talking early before a game and have a really good attitude. They've been struggling to be in the games, but they say they were talking about that's not their goal. Their goal is to try to improve their game, make a few shots, and have some fun. So good attitude, as some of these teams are entering without the advantage of being in the circuit. So we'll finish off that one, and then we'll switch back to our game. Norris looks a little bit on the heavy side, but now it's slowing down nicely. And they will have 4. So Norris will be taking a 4-1 lead in that game over Pockler. And now we switch back to our own game. And it looked like Peterson just played a hit, maybe a run back hit on Roblin's Rock, but Roblin's Rock stayed in the back. So that means Logan Zacharias, local curler, brother of Mackenzie and Emily, and Katie too. And son of their coach, Sheldon Zacharias, who also coached the girls who are quite successful in curling, and also has Mackenzie and Emily curl with the Jennifer Jones now and won the Manitoba Championship last year. So that's nice to say, defending Manitoba champions. This is not the easiest province to get out of. So Zacharias does get behind the guard, is behind cover, a little deeper probably than they would hoped, as it now leaves Peterson the opportunity to put one a little bit better, maybe in front of the 4-foot. So I'll switch to that camera. It's just at the edge of our camera, but the one on the right is Peterson's Rock, and so it is shot rock. And the one on the left is also counting. That's Robin's Rock, but fairly inconsequential in terms of the strategy at the end, as they're trying to get around that corner guard, both teams trying to be the first to make it perfect. So here's Zacharias' second attempt at the same draw. It's got lots of room, but they're sweeping on it early. Maybe might be a little bit lighter. We'll see. Looking pretty good. They wouldn't mind one at the top of the house. Isn't bad. Looks pretty good. Yes, that's basically what you want. The guard is fairly long, so it is reachable with the right weight, but it looks to me like they're definitely 1 and 3. And we'll give you the overhead view so you can see what that looks. Looks like they've got a piece of the 4 or maybe full 8. Just like to see whether that's... Yes, it's in front of the tee line. So that basically is an ideal shot. Front of the tee line so that Peterson can't freeze up to it. So now Peterson will attempt to put one in there as well. Maybe come on top of Robin's Rock. Nudge it a little bit, perhaps. Get a rock in there that they can use later. Doesn't look like they're trying to remove with that weight. Okay, we'll see if we can get a good look at where that ended up. So it ended up basically right on top of Robin's Rock. So a good spot in terms of be very difficult to remove, but Robin is shot rock, and they are looking to freeze, so they may not want to remove that. And here comes Campbell, the second for Peterson. Looks pretty good. It's coming in there as well. Looks like it's going to be right on top of the last one. So that was Campbell for Robbins. And we'll see where that ends up on top. It looked like it was basically right on top of the other blue. Yes. Now, if the blue could get a good piece of the front yellow, their blue would dry back onto the back yellow, and they would be shot. But the way the angles are, that front yellow would not go anywhere. And there's also that corner guard that you can't see on the screen that's preventing them to get full access. Right now they probably can see maybe a half of that front rock. So they're coming to have a little conference. Nick Senf coming up to speak with Ronan Peterson. Gives us a chance to go over the teams. I'm not sure if I've said exactly who all the teams are. So for Ronan Peterson, they're out of the Heather. Nick Senf is curling third. Roan Hunker is their second, and Nathan Kelly is their lead, and they are coached by Jamie Kyle. And Team Robbins, skip is Luke Robbins, third Rylan Campbell, second Logan Zacharias, the lead Logan Strand, coached by Sheldon Zacharias. Now it looks like Senf is ready to make a shot. It looks like they're going to take away the corner guard. Just keep it clean. Looks like they've got half of their rock. Successful peel. So they're just hoping to open it up a little bit, so that they could play that run back and make themselves shot. And I think the signal for Robbins was to replace that corner guard, maybe make it a little bit tighter to the rings. So it's a little harder to get at those rocks. More protection for their shot stone. Campbell with the delivery. Looking for a guard, maybe halfway to the rings. Laying off it so far, just some cleaning. Now they're rushing a little bit harder. It's very hard to throw a precise guard on the ice that swings, but that is about as good as you can do it. Quite tight, so I guess there's a possibility of being able to run that back. Although Peterson looks like he just wants to peel it anyway. Well, you can see it on the screen. There it is. They're looking at it a little bit more. Now it looks like they might. Oh no, he's not sure. He's debating between the run back and just the peel. The peel is a safe shot. Run back is a little bit more aggressive because you might stick around. Looks like they elected on the peel. And that is what they'll do. And they hang around on the outside edge, but that won't come into play. So now we are to Robbins' first rock. And just looking at where they are going to put the broom. I imagine they might replace that guard that they just got peeled. Yeah, that looks to be the call. line looks good, maybe a little bit tighter than the previous one. Looks fine, basically the same spot. Basically the same spot, maybe just a shade deeper. No, basically exactly the same spot on the screen. So 2 perfect guards by Robbins in trying to secure this stolen point, or to at least get a force. And Peterson is going to ignore all of those rocks and the guard and go behind. So he is looking to apply the pressure. And why not? He has the 4-foot completely open either way. So for his last, he could draw to the 4-foot to get out of danger. So he's looking to go behind that row of rocks, bury one there, put the pressure on Robin. I'm not brushing so far. The line looks pretty decent. Might be a little bit on the heavy side. Let's see. Yes, quite heavy. Hits the yellow on the back of the house, the catcher at the back. And so Robin's still counting 1. Now, what are you going to do to try to either steal or at least make it very difficult for Peterson to get his 1? So, drawing at the top of the 4-foot would be a good call, but one of the things you don't want to do is you don't want to give the opportunity for Peterson to get a double and count 2. So you got to keep away from your shot rock, or at least not give them an angle to get to your shot rock. All right, let's see how this works out. So they're taking ice, pointing to the top of the house, taking ice on the edge of the 12-foot. So probably hoping to make that, now they move it in a bit, more in the middle of the 12-foot, but they're probably hoping to make that 4-foot less accessible. All right. Let's go with the rock. No sweeping yet. It's going to be pretty tight. Looks like they're just trying to plug up the... Yeah, it looks like they're just trying to make the draw harder. They weren't too concerned about getting a second rock in there, probably because of the double danger. But maybe would have liked it a little bit further to the right to cut off the 4-foot a little bit more, but this definitely is in his view. Show you the view here. There's the guard, basically on the center line, just to the left of center. So it is accessible for Peterson. But he certainly has to hit the 4-foot. They're sweeping pretty hard at it. Take a look. That went behind the guard, so it was pretty hard to determine the depth here. But let's see if we can get a shot of how that ended up. spirited away. All right, so it looked like it was close. We'll have to wait until they throw their first rocks to determine whether he did indeed get the shot rock or not. It looks like Robbins did steal one. They did, yes. It's 2-2. So there you go. Getting back into the game with a couple of his last shot from end number 2, and a good end by their team in end number 3, giving Peterson some rocks to look at. So 2-2 after 2. All tied up. I have a chance to talk about things a little bit on the women's side. Quite interesting in terms of how the games have gone, and both pools have basically are mirror images of each other. In Pool B, we have Team Wall that is at 3-0. They have one more game tonight, and also in Pool B, Hayward from Carmen is 3-1. So Wall from Altona 3-0, and still in the mix as well is Team Hayward is 2-1. They have to play it as well. And still in the mix there is Team Benson at 3-1. So it's those three teams that are battling for the 2 spots that are available. If Team Wall wins, she automatically will be first, and then Benson would be second. If Team Wall loses to Hayward, then they end up in a 3-way tie for first place with 3-1. And the way the tiebreakers work is it's your record against each other, the teams that are tied. So they will have all won one and lost one against each other if they do end up in that 3-1 situation. Then they go to the button draws, the draw to the button statistics that they've been amassing all week, and it will be determined, the tiebreaker will be determined by that number. And I do know that in that category, Wall is ahead, has a good lead over the other 2 teams. Now, in Pool A, the situation is exactly the same. Names are different, situation's the same. Team Beaudry out of St. Patel is 3-0, so they're in the driver's seat. And you have, let's see, Team Van Rysel out of Springfield. They're the team that's 2-1, and they're the team that has the chance to win if they can beat Beaudry today. And the other team in the other division, the team looking in on the sidelines, don't know if I have it here. Let's see, I think I'm missing one team out of here. I'll look it up anyway and let you know. But they have the same situation there, that you will have a 3-way tie for 3-1 if Beaudry loses. And if they do end up tied at 3-1, Beaudry also has the large advantage in terms of draw to the button. Okay, the other team that's in that mess or that possibility is Caris Bokalter of West St. Paul. So she's also one of the teams that is waiting to see whether they will make it or not. So interesting, and that draws at noon. And so a lot of things up in the air on the girls' side. And like I said, it's both pools have exactly the same situation. The team waiting on the sidelines is hoping that the team that's undefeated will remain undefeated so that they're in, because only the top 2 teams advance. And the way it works in terms of the playoffs is the second place team from Pool B will play the second place team from Pool A, and the first place team from A will play the first place team from B. So out of those first place teams, the winner automatically goes to the final. And the loser drops back and plays the winner of that second place game for an opportunity to get back and play in the final. And you should also know that, there's a championship on the line, which of course is significant, but there's also 2 spots available to go to the Nationals in Ontario. So finishing second is significant as well. So a lot to be determined yet here in Altona, and that draw for the women's will be after this draw at 12:30, and so it will be quite exciting. And just looking at the schedule now, I can say that it's Van Rysel is the team that will be playing Beaudry. So Rysel is 2-1, and whereas Caris Bookalter is a team that's already finished at 3-1 so far. So they're on the sidelines waiting. Okay, getting back to our game. We're throwing the second rocks here, and this is Peterson's second. And that's Rowan Hunker. And that's a good shot, just almost buried behind the front rock, buried at the top of the 8. And they also have one in the back of the 12 in a rock that wasn't fully removed. Looking around the sheets, I can also tell you that on sheet number 3, between Pockler and Norris, Pockler came back with 1 in the third and trails 4-2. And Freeman stole 2 in the third end and now leads Sugden 3-1. So Freeman's hoping to wrap up that first place spot on the men's side. It's the top 3 teams that make the playoffs because they have 7 overall, and the first place team gets an automatic bye to the final, and as a result also an automatic bye to going to the national championships in Ontario. So a lot on the line for that. It's a lot to play for when you're playing for first place in both regards. And here's a shot by Robbins. Very close. I think they just got a slight rub off the blue, and they would have liked to tuck that one around, maybe even just a half rock, but it looked like they just grazed it at the last. And they are shot rock, so Peterson will be able to want to deal with it, but definitely available. Okay, we'll take a look at the view from the far end. This is Senth, Nick Senth the third. Looks a little tight. They're working hard at it. They're working hard. And they are just by. Nice sweep. But they hit their own rock first, and they spill it out. So even though they were past the guard, they needed to also get past their rock in the house. So that gives an opportunity for Robbins to make something better. Okay, I've been getting some indications that the audio level is a little bit low, and we've been trying to work on that throughout the tournament. I'll adjust a little bit. I can also use my projecting voice, but I don't want to annoy everybody here in the lobby. But anyway, hopefully this will be a little bit better. Yeah, if you give me some feedback on that, that'd be good. And here's a shot by Robbins. Not exactly where he wanted, but not a bad shot because it now has double guard on his shot in the full 8. I think he was hoping to get one a little bit better, maybe in the 4-foot between those two rocks. But that will improve the situation. And now Peterson will be trying to bury one. So can't get at that rock. Doesn't want to peel. It's too late to play the peel. But if he can bury one now and behind the 4-foot, then it will be his advantage. So the sweepers are starting on it, stopping. So the weight's probably pretty close. They have lots of room by the guard at this point, but it does come in very nicely. They would like it in the front of the tee. Looks like it will be just tee line weight, just in the back of the button. So a buried rock, but with the way that the ice curls, definitely can get there. Ideally, if it would have been about 2 feet shorter, that would give Robbins very little room to play with. So this is the first of the skipstones. He has a possibility, certainly. He would like to freeze on top of the blue. That would be ideal. Or to even just push it back an inch or two. Shot rock would be nice for sure. But he's cutting down the scoring area if he has a rock that is buried and in the right position as well. And here comes the stone. Sweepers are on and off. Now they're sweeping to curl. Now off. Looks like it's a little bit heavier than they might want. And it just nudges behind the blue. So just 4 or 5 feet too far. You have a little bit less weight, and it would probably curl over and get to that rock in the back of the button. So now an opportunity for Peterson. And they're motioning top of the 8 to act as a guard. And if they have the right line, bring it into the 4-foot as a second stone. So lots of good things with this stone can happen as long as the miss would be to leave it out too far to the side and short and give Robin a potential double. But anything behind that front guard will present a problem for Robbins. Sweeping pretty hard. Leaving it entirely short isn't the worst thing either. And it looks like that's what's going to happen. They would have liked that one in the house. But this does cover off most of the 4-foot. Although Robbins did not hesitate and put the broom down right on the button. And that just shows you how much swing is available in this ice. That he the guard is about a foot off of center line, and it's a short guard, but he still feels confident he can get there. And also, if he was short and could not get there all the way, it would make it virtually impossible for Peterson to get his 2. So a force is also a victory in this end as well. We're laying off of it so far. Now, sweeping a little bit harder. He's got lots of room by the guard. Okay, they stopped, and I think the thinking for them was, if we put it on the tee line and out in the 8-foot, that makes it simpler for Peterson to just hit and flop inside. So higher is better in that regard once they realized they were not going to get that shot. So a good audible on their part to realize that if it's short, we do not want to bring it into the house any further. So now Peterson will have to decide whether he can get there with the draw or whether he could possibly get there with a hit and roll in. He has to get to full 8-foot to beat the other rock on the right side. I'll give you a viewpoint of that. Yeah, so that's the view that you can see. So his option would be to hit maybe half a rock of that front yellow on the 12-foot and roll into the 8-foot. That's a pretty tough shot. And they are now putting their broom beside the blue, so that would indicate to me that they want to promote that rock and hope to get there too that way. Not much danger as long as you have the right weight. You wouldn't want to take your own out and split it out, but so he's playing it fairly lightweight, enough to get it to the button. Looks close in terms of weight. Line looks pretty good too. Just a little bit off, it looks like. Yep, just the angle wasn't quite right, so it went on to Robbins' rock instead. So that means a 1 for Peterson, but Robbins' team is climbing their way back into this game as they're now just down 1, but they now have the hammer. So after that opening 2 and then that possible 4 in the second, they've settled down and are back in this game. And at this point, it's anybody's game. Well, they have a little bit of a break. I'll go down some of the teams that are here on the men's draw. We talked about Robbins. They are 1-3. They had 2 games this week that they lost on the last rock. So they have been in their games. They could easily be 3-1 as well. And they're out of curling out of West St. Paul. They curl on the junior tour and have a 6-13 record. But like I said, on the junior tour, you're curling against 21-year-olds as well. So pretty tough to have a strong record in there. Coached by Sheldon Zacharias, skip Luke Robbins, third Ryland Campbell, second Logan Zacharias, and lead Logan Strand. Team Peterson 11-9, so over 500 from the Heather. Coached by Jamie Kyle, skip Ronan Peterson, third Nick Senf, second Roan Hunker, and lead Nathan Kelly. Team Freeman, which is out of Verdun, they're 27-7 on the tour, so they're one of the top teams in the junior tour, even though they're only consisting of under 18s. And coached by Graham Freeman, skip Jace Freeman, third Elias Humanecki, second Ryland Graham, and lead Jack Stesky. Team Sudgen out of Morden is not in the tour. They're coached by Brett Tichkowski, skipped by Nash Sugden, third Tyler Fair, second Tanner Trikel, and lead Ryan Thiessen. Team Pockler out of East St. Paul, coached by Alan Ram, skipped by Nathan Pockler, third Benjamin McKenzie, second Alexander Mackling, lead Brendan Mackling. Team Olofsson, we watched them play yesterday, a very good game yesterday against Freeman out of Portage. They're 3-17 on the tour, but they have looked quite strong here. Coached by Brett Moxman, skip Colton Olofsson, third Nolan Ross, second Tristan Blight, and lead Hunter Jeffries. And Team Norris out of Morris, they're 11-10 on the tour, coached by Leigh Mamquist, skip Zach Norris, third Ethan Brandt, second Blake Good, and lead Carter Mamquist. So I had a pronunciation check on the coach for Morris. It's Lee Malmquist. So apologies to the Lee. I knew it was one way or the other, 50-50 chance. Anyway, so it's Lee. So those are the men's teams, and just to go over the standings right now, Freeman and Norris from Morris are at top at 3-1. Peterson and Olofsson have played 5 games, and they're both 3-2. Sudgen is 2-2. Robbins is 1-3, and Pockler is winless in 4. So the way it goes is the top 3 teams advance. Second plays third in a semifinal, and the winner plays the top team in the round robin for the final. So the top team advances straight to the final. And like I said, the possibilities are if Robbins wins both their games, that means that Peterson and Olofsson would have lost their games today, and they would have been 3-3 along with Robbins. So if he wins both his games, if that team wins both their games today, there will be 3 teams at 3-3. Now, that also leaves Sugden that could possibly finish at 3-3, and that would mean he would have to win one and lose one today. And he is playing the top team in Freeman and the team with the lowest record in Pockler. So that's also a possibility. So even though it seems a little far-fetched when you look at the records, it could work out if Robbins can manage to win their games today. Well, the teams are back on the ice. We have the leads throwing the stones. And that is Strand from Robbins, Logan Strand. Peterson has put one at the top of the house. And Robbins looks like they're going to go behind, at least partially buried. And now this is Kelly for Peterson. Got ice on the edge of the 12. Inside edge of the 12. Looking to put a rock on top of that. Maybe bump theirs back into the back of the house, but I think he'd be okay with a freeze on top of it. It looks like that's what they've done. So now Strand will have his second shot. I can also tell you, while we're waiting for him to throw, that in the fourth end, Sugden scored 1. So Freeman is now up 3-2 after 4, and Freeman does have the hammer. So that's the situation in the house there. You can see that the Blue Rock is on top of the Robbins Rock, not frozen, but certainly in the way. And now Robbins will see if he can just change the angles a little bit, although I think he's hoping to hit the rock on the inside. They're waiting for it to come over. It's taking a while. And it nudges it closer, but actually it nudges it where Peterson would probably like it. Frozen on top of the yellow. Because now all he has to do is make contact with that blue rock in the front, and the yellow shot will be gone. And he's calling for a hit, I believe, on the front yellow. Or he's trying to go through to get to the blue. No, it looks like they're trying to hit the yellow. Looks like they won't hit it on the outside, so just a little hit and roll inside, which is also nice. Because if they now hit the front blue, again, same result. The shot yellow will go at the back of the house. So now Robbins can guard this situation and hope that Peterson can't find a way to get to that rock, or he can do something to change up the angles. He called the guard, and the coach called the timeout. They do have the hammer, so that's an advantage in the situation in terms of what you're playing. But it's you could get when you're guarding your one rock, and there's so many ways to get at it. It can become very lonely looking in there with a lot of blues surrounding it. So it might be better to do something a little bit different. You're kind of putting all your eggs in one basket if you're just going to play the guard for the next 5 stones. But we'll see what happens, see what the coach comes up with. Looks like they will be playing something else. Looks to me like they're playing to peel the guard. So Zacharias now back in the hack, verifying what type of weight he might want. Robbins wants, not giving much less, just at the edge of the rock. And to peel this away, that would be the idea. Might get lucky to take one of the side blues as well. He noses the side blue, so doesn't just exchanges the position, which leaves it a little further out. But I think the call was appeal, and that's what they did, so that's good. And Peterson goes straight for the guard. So you might think that it's unusual that he's calling a guard when the yellow is a shot rock. But he's full confidence, because of that rock being frozen in front, that he will have a way to remove the yellow. And it's just a matter of when. So it's kind of a waiting game now. If he plays the guard and they split it away, he could, of course, elect to take the yellow out right now. But I think the feeling would be that it's a little bit early in the end to make that play. So now, Robbins, I believe the call is to hit the Peterson rock that's on the 12-foot and eliminate that one. Looks like that's what the call is. Well, it's hard to tell. It's right in the middle, so it could be on the guard as well. Yeah, he's trying to hit the guard and maybe get... Oh, he's going right through. Okay, so they went right through. And it looks like that may have turned out okay in terms of whose shot. We'll have to take a look. It looks like it's pretty close between them. Looks like the blue is shot. But now he's not having to worry about when that run back will occur. And he's got a decent rock out of it. Full 8 foot behind a stone. Peterson does have the run back. It's not a super long run back, so that possibility is there. And it's sent from the hack. The third for Peterson. And here it is. They're sweeping pretty hard against the curl. They're a little bit on the inside. Yes, they are on the inside, so the raised rock goes past and between the two rocks in the house. So now it's looking a little more manageable for Robbins. They have a possibility now of playing a run back of their own and maybe look for a double. The rocks are not that far apart, so that's pretty good. Yeah, if he just would nose hit the front, he would get the double. Probably wouldn't be counting. He'd be outside the rings, but that's okay. It would look a lot better than it did a few shots ago. Okay, they're working hard. Sweeping against the curl. Looks pretty close, though. Okay, they were going for the double the other way and maybe rolling in front of their own. They got pretty close. They are now shot rock, and they do have 2 in the house, so a pretty good result. And Peterson now will have a similar opportunity trying to double the 2 Robbins rocks. And that's the call immediately. And he didn't get quite to the nose. Let's see what the result was. Right, so yellow is still shot. Now there's nothing in front of the house. So it's just a matter of hitting and trying to avoid a double for Robbins and seeing if they can get their 2 here. So Campbell will be tempted to hit this and maybe roll to a different spot, although if he would hit and stay, that would be a tough double as well. Just be a little bit too steep to make. Well, that looks too far outside, and that is not what he wanted. Just got it a little bit outside, and now instead of counting 2, they will be looking at 2, or quite likely. That's how easy an end can change around. All right, so that means Peterson now will draw to the open side. And make it hard for Robbins to make a double. So now the force is on for Peterson. That's their plan. Maybe make a shot a little bit difficult so he has to hit and stick or hit and roll in so that he has to get his 1. But the force is what is the goal right now for Peterson. And he does exactly like he should. We'll give you the angles on that one. So that's what it looks like. So It's a little. It's not like a natural double. It's a little bit flat, but it's doable. And the options would be to hit and roll behind, but yeah. So they're just deciding on the ice and where they would like to have it, how much of the rock they got to hit to get there. But definitely rolling over to the rock on the left-hand side would be the goal. Ideally, you could roll behind. It would be a short run back. Also, ideally, it would be shot. So there's a couple options that could work out okay. Okay, so here's Robbins in the hack. They're swooping it not to curl. And it doesn't look like they're going to get as much of the roll that they wanted. But they did roll a little bit towards Peterson's rock. Hard to tell from this angle. I would say blue is shot, but it really doesn't matter because Peterson is going to be hitting yellow either way. All right, Peterson just hoping to hit, stay, maybe flop a little bit to the right. Not let that double come into play. Looks like he's fine. Nose and a hit to the roll to the right. So that basically will take the double out of play there, just as wide apart as you can. Now the question becomes a matter of comfort. Does Robbins want to hit one of those two rocks and flop in for a shot, or does he just want to draw to get 8 foot and get his point? And that becomes a matter of a skip's comfort. There's always in the back of your mind that says, well, if I hit, then I'm probably not going to give up 2. There's no danger of that. But really the draw is the easier way to count. So it's a matter of how confident you feel about your draw weight right now. So it looks like they're going for the draw. Okay, Robin's taking a little bit extra time in this one. Realizes it's a significant shot. They usually are the last shots for the skip. Sweepers are on, and then they were off. A little bit on. Looks pretty good. Usually when they're hesitating, that's a good sign. Yes, that one looks good. And yes, right on the pot for the point. So that ties it all up at 3 apiece after 5. Going around the rink, Freeman scored 1 in the 5 with a hammer, and he now leads 4-2 after 5. And Pockler scored 1 in the 5th, and they are down... Somebody standing in the way. I think 6-3 after 5 ends. I'm going to take a little bit of a break, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back from the break. Looks like Robin's first stone is out of play. I'm guessing they were going for a guard, so I'm guessing it was hogged or burnt. But anyway, it's not in play. So Peterson will now be attempting to get the 2. And Robbins will be looking for the steal or the force. So the only 3 ends to play. They're all tied up. Kind of back to where we started. But the situation is you do like to count on the even ends, all things being equal. That would give Robbins 2 chances to score with a hammer. And Peterson 2 chances to score with a hammer, and Robbins 1. So it's kind of an advantage to have the hammer on the even ends. But, of course, a lot can change. You throw in a steal here, and it all switches around. So a lot of curling to do. Certainly no major advantage to one team either way. So Peterson put up the corner guard, a good corner guard, and Robbins elects to go right behind it. Looks a little bit on the deep side, but now it's settling in. They didn't want that one behind the tee line. Rather leave it out in the open than going behind the tee line. So Peterson wants to hit that and roll away. And here's a release by Kelly. He's on the rock, but rolling all the way out. So Robbins might be, same call, go right behind the corner guard. He's got to be aggressive at this point. He needs to get a steal in some way. He didn't get his corner guard on the first rock, so he's going to use the guard that he's been given, and that is the corner guard. And if you can get a good rock there, that's close to being fully in the 8, short of the tee line. That would be ideal. This throw by Zacharias. Line looks good. Line looks pretty good. Waits close to tee line. A little short. That's pretty well perfect. So great shot by Zacharias to put the pressure on Peterson. Peterson calling for to freeze on top of it, or a corner freeze. It's going to be hard for them to freeze onto this rock and still be shot, but the hope would be to remove it later. The shot by Hunker looks pretty close. Getting on the corner is going to be a little bit of a bump there, though, I think. Probably would prefer to have not had a bump. So now that gives Robbins the opportunity to hit this one that's fully in the open and flop behind the guard and maybe on top of theirs and still be buried. They could do all those 3 things. That would put the pressure on Peterson. So Zacharias shot. Now they're sweeping it to curl. Looks like it's going to be close. Maybe they're trying to roll. Just decided to hit it nose. Guess maybe they didn't want to roll just a little bit inside and give the easy double. So Peterson right away elects to play the hit. Hit and indicate an inside roll. Here comes Hunker's shot. Looks like he might have an inside roll. Yes, a little bit of a flop, and is shot. So Robbins will have to deal with this. Don't know how much of the rock you can see. It looks like it's partially buried, so that complicates matters. So he's looking at the rocks and says, yes, the blue is shot. Okay, we'll give you the overhead view so that you can have a look at how those rocks are lining up. That's what you see. Yes, it's definitely behind the corner guard, so it would be pretty difficult to play a hit on that, because the likely result would be that you would catch it onto your own in the back. Here it comes. They're on it early. Pretty close to the guard, but it looks like they're going to be putting it onto their own. And that's what they end up doing. And to make matters worse, the blue is buried behind the corner guard. So now Peterson can hit the open yellow and roll away. And that means the deuce is definitely in play. So this is the third. Nick Senf wants to hit this and stick. Ideally, like to roll away a little bit to the outside. It looks like he is rolling quite far. And it's stuck around, though. So that's significant that it's stuck around there on the 12-foot, because now Robbins is forced to go and bring play to the corner guard again. And the way the rock's situated above the tee line, it's going to be hard to come down to this one and get shot rock without exposing your stone that you just threw. So this is Senf in the hack. Sweepers are on and off. Now they're sweeping a little bit harder. Line looks good, but the weight looks light. So that's unfortunate for Robbins. They're going to have a shot that's going to save them. Peterson's going to go look at that raise to see if the run back with the yellow is possible. Looks like he's decided it is not. And certainly, I would agree, if not impossible, very improbable. So now where he's going to put his third stone, because now he's thinking 3. Very interesting how it changed with that stuffed rock just a couple ago, from Robbins kind of being the one to put the pressure on, and now they're scrambling to try to keep Peterson to a minimum. They still have the opportunity of burying one behind these staggered guards, I guess. And Peterson has said, well, I'm going to beat you to it. I'm going to go there first. But that would be the out for Robbins, to get something that's first or second rock behind the staggered stones. This one looks pretty good. The line's great. It's a little bit short, but certainly it counts, and it reduces the space that Robbins has to get behind there and to get that point. I think their only shot is what Robbins is indicating, is to draw behind the two rocks that are in the house. And he really doesn't even have to get shot rock. That would be pretty difficult to do and to be buried. But if he could get second by being full 8 and behind them, that would at least minimize the damage and possibly hold them to a 2. And maybe a 1 if they get a miss. Big shot here, though, because he doesn't have a lot of places to go. They looked briefly at taking out the blue on the far 12-foot, but really that wouldn't change much. And Peterson could just put another one behind there, and they'd still be looking at 3 or 4. So this is a shot that he's elected to go with. They're sweeping on it early. Now they're off. It's close. It's a little bit further out than they might like, and maybe a little deeper than they might like. Well, it looks like it hangs around for second shot, which is a decent result. They might feel more comfortable if it was a little bit better buried, so that they wouldn't have to worry about that one being picked out for a mass event later. But that certainly is a lot better than it just was before he had to make that shot. And it probably looks buried from the hack on the other side. But because the ice swings so much, it certainly can be accessible. So coach elected to call a timeout, or the team did, and they're going to talk it over with their coach, Jamie Kyle. And Sheldon Zacharias will talk to Robbins about what they might do, given what they think Peterson will do. So you say, play the if game. If they do put one in the front of the house where they're indicating, and it's not second shot, then you could put a shot that was rock that was shot on the other side. But if they put in one for second, you're going to have to do something to deal with it, because you can't really afford to give up 2, or even giving, and especially not a shot at 3. So you're looking to hopefully cut them down to 1. That would be their big goal. And Peterson is hoping to get a 2 at least, and maybe a 3. All right. It's ready to shoot. The decisions are made. Taking ice in the middle of the 8. I didn't see the indication as to whether they were going for the back rock or not. Most of the signals were calling for something in the front and at second shot. But they're looking for something in the front of the house. Second shot. This one looks pretty good. Looks a little light, though. Yeah, I think they lost it. They would have liked to have dragged that about another 5 or 6 feet further. And the fact where it is, it pretty well eliminates the possibility of getting Robbins' rock, which is second rock, out of there. So now Robbins will have to be careful as to where they put it. You don't want to set up a double in some kind of way. But ideally, if you're going to be aggressive, you're playing for the draw around the center guard, top of the 4. The shot's there. The ice can do it. The ice can swing that much. And that would be the call to get the best result. But you also have to look at making sure you don't set them up for 2 or 3. Well, it looks like now Zacharias has called a time. And now it's up to them to decide where they're going to put it. So lots of drama here in the 6th end in this highly significant game for both teams. Around the rest of the games, I can tell you that Freeman is leading Sugden by 1, 4-3. So that game continues to be close. Sugden is not part of the junior tour, but has looked quite strong here during the entire Bonspiel here championship. And looking at Pockler, they just finished the 6th. It was 6-3 for Norris over Pockler. And I didn't see what happened in that last end. But Norris had the hammer. But the teams are meeting and talking, so that generally means they might be going another end. Although sometimes they talk and they're deciding whether they do want to go another end. Okay, here's the shot by Robbins. Line looks pretty good. It's tight. It's very tight. Oh, this looks very good. Very good. There is a perfect stone. A perfect stone right behind the guard. It's in front of the tee. The only way for Peterson to score is probably to remove it. I mean, he has the outside edge of the button to draw to. But the upside of the run back is if he does run it straight back, there is a possibility of doubling up the 2 stones and getting a 4. So this is a huge shot. Tough shot, though. Very tough shot to run something straight back. The distance isn't hard, but it's not as easy as somebody like Mark Nichols would make you think it is. It looks like he's a little bit on the outside. I think he might be on the outside. Let's see. There's lots of rocks to bounce around, though. That will be a steal of 1. A steal of 1 for Robbins. So a great shot right at the end. 2 good shots by the team to steal their 1. So the score after 6 ends of play is now Robbins 4 and Peterson 3. So now just 2 ends to play. 7th end. So this is kind of the classic curling conundrum. Do you want to blank and be down 1, coming home with a hammer? Most teams prefer that. They prefer to have the hammer coming home. If your Robbins force is good, then you're tied coming home. Stealing is also good. Then you're up 2 coming home without the hammer. So they'll be looking for a steal or a force. And on the other side of the coin, Peterson will be looking for a deuce or a blank. Those will be the 2 outcomes that they're going to be looking for. And the thing is, when you do this, sometimes those decisions are only made in the middle of the end, depending on how things turn out. And you kind of have to decide when it's time to change gears. Maybe you're looking for a 2, you realize it's not going to be there, and then you have to try to clear everything out. So, big game here. Lots of tension, lots on the line. As we said, Robbins needs to win both games today to have the hope of being in a 4-way tie for 3rd place at 3-3. Peterson right now is 3-2. So if he were to lose this one, he would drop to 3-3. If Peterson wins, he would not necessarily even be guaranteed a playoff spot as well. 4-2 might not be enough. It'll be enough to get you into the conversation, but then the rest comes down to the tiebreaker. So Robbins, not a center guard, but a little bit off center. And Peterson is just drawing in, it looks like. Didn't look like they were attempting to go behind the guard. Maybe they were, but putting one on the center. Teams often will do that when they have the hammer, put something on in the forefoot and on the button. Most of the time, these teams, at least during this game, have been pretty aggressive when the guard is out there. It doesn't seem to matter who put the guard there. They want to go around it. So this is Strand with the second shot. They're sweeping it to Curl. He's on the outside and will roll away. So that gives Kelly another shot at it. Looks like they do want to go behind. So they're aggressively going for their 2, it would look like. Just a little bit of cleaning, but doesn't look like they're concerned about it being light, that's for sure. See it approaching the house now. Looks like it's got quite a bit of weight. And it will go all the way through. So an opportunity for Zacharias to put one behind. And a couple of ends ago, it was Zacharias taking advantage of a corner guard to set themselves up for a good end. Elected to do the intern. I think the thinking there might be that you might show the outside part of the rock, so if the other team tries to hit it or draw up to it, it's not going to be as difficult to remove. So we got that a little bit behind the guard, but it's almost edge to edge. So now Peterson has to decide what he's going to do. If you wanted to blank, this would be a time to maybe get rid of the guard, but nope. He is going to draw towards it. So it is a little bit behind the tee line. So that does give you the opportunity to freeze one right to it. A little bit corner frozen and be a very difficult rock to remove. Sweepers are totally off of it so far. The line looks okay, but it looks like there might be just too much weight again. Oh, no, it stayed. I guess it was just the line that they were worried about and knew it wasn't going to need anything more. So, now Zacharias. He can definitely get to it the way the ice curls. And if he could hit there and just basically stay right on top, or even flop in a little bit on top of his own, that would be an ideal shot. Taking ice in the middle of the 8. Sweepers are staying off it so far. Looks like they're sweeping it to curl. Looks pretty good. Oh, it just nudges it to the back of the 4. And now there are 2 yellow, but they're fairly accessible. And a double is definitely a possibility there. He has to get to the inside of that rock and can't be too aggressive because of the guard that's out in front. They're laying right off of it. They're hoping for an inside roll. And they did get it. And nudged it out the side, but not out of the rings. But now it looks like there's... Peterson is counting 2. And one of them is behind, so... Robbins will have to deal with this rock. So they're looking at the double. Although hitting it and flopping it behind the guard, biting the button wouldn't be a bad result either. And maybe that might even be what they're after, but definitely want to hit the rock on the right side of the 4-foot. And here comes the throw. They're sweeping it to curl. Yeah, it's on the outside part of the rock. And it gets stuffed onto their rock that was in the back of the 4, so they're still counting 4, or counting 1 in the 4-foot. Spun away a little bit, so it's not quite as well positioned as the previous rock was. And Peterson calling sent to put another one in there. Probably the top of the 4-foot buried behind the front guard would be ideal. A little bit of sweeping, nothing too serious. Waiting for it to catch the curl. They're still off of it. They seem to be pushing away. It looks like it might be deep. And it hung around in the back. But let's take a look at what that looks like. So I was in the back biting the button. They would have preferred something in the front of the tee because now Campbell has the opportunity to put it right in that spot. So let's see where this ends up. Both sweeping. They don't want it light, that's for sure. But the line is close. It's behind. It's past. It's past. Just nudging the blue. That looked like a good shot. We'll have to wait to see the cameras show in terms of how that ends up. Yeah, that's a pretty good spot because now it's going to be hard to remove even from the outside. You'd have to get a good part of that rock to spin it away. So it is not totally frozen on top, so there is a possibility of removing it, but that's a good shot. Definitely puts the pressure back on Peterson. If he could access it from the other side, then that would be easier to remove, but that is not a possibility with that guard in front that is covering the right-hand part of the rock. Okay, here comes the shot. Haven't laid a broom on it yet. It's coming in now. It's a good shot. It swept in there very nicely. Caught the curl. And is shot rock. So, team's doing very well at trying to play the angles game, trying to be the first to get the rock that will be immovable. And we are now down to our first rock for the skips. So this is where Robbins has to be careful. He obviously does want to steal. That would be ideal. But to have him to be forced to one would be a good result as well. So that yellow on the back of the 4 is a little lonely there. You want to make sure that there's something else there because there are 3 blues. The blues are first, third, and fourth shot. So you want to be aggressive, but you don't want to be risky. Okay, here it comes. Pretty far out there. Waiting for it to catch the curl. Looks like it is now. So a good shot in terms of getting one in the front of the 4-foot, but they are not shot. They are second and third shot, which is significant. And the one in the front of the 4-foot would be very difficult to remove. So you're eliminating the possibility of a huge end, or at least reducing that chance. Now, Peterson was seeing if they can find another way to get into that button. And they'll have to be careful not to put one in a spot that could be doubled off with the one that is currently shot. It does come in nicely enough that if you just feather that yellow at the top of the 4, you probably would have a good result that where you wouldn't be able to remove both of them. I can give you an update also on sheet number 4. Freeman counted 1 in the 7th and is up 5-3, but Sugden has the hammer. And Norris leads Pockler 7-3, playing in the 7th. So they're talking it over with their coaches. Looking at the options. This is the great part about curling is, and that's the part that most people enjoy when they're watching. When you have a working knowledge of the game, you can see all the strategy and the angles, and it's almost like a little bit of a chess game as to think about a couple of moves ahead as to what could happen. And that's the fascinating part about the game. And that's why there are these kind of discussions. That's why I think a lot of people enjoy watching it on TV. And then you have these shots that can just change and end entirely. And sometimes it's a shot that somebody else didn't see. And so those types of situations can be quite dramatic. So they are going to go for the draw, it looks like. I didn't see the final indication. I don't imagine they would play a guard, because then that's basically saying we're just going to take our 1. So I would think that they'd be trying to put one right on top of their rock that they have right in the back of the button. Something in there. Okay, so they're sweeping pretty vigorously to start it. It looks like they're a little bit tight. They'll be on that front yellow and light. Tight and light. So that won't help them. Yeah, and they're short. A good couple of feet short of the rock and the forefoot. So now, what does Robbins do? I don't see any possibility of danger if he tries to do the shot that Peterson just played. Just try to get shot right there. And I don't think there's any indication. I don't think there's any way that Peterson could get more than 1 unless he. Yeah, I don't see it unless he tries a double run back in some way, but that would be dangerous. So I'm thinking this is a chance to sock one, and at the very least, if you put one at the top of the 4, then it eliminates any possibility of a 2 as well, because he's not going to want to mess with raising things in there or angling things in there with the possibility of taking his own out. So a good opportunity for Robbins here to possibly get a steal and at least get a force. And here comes the delivery. We'll watch the sweepers for indications. Some tentative sweeping being called off, possibly because of line. Now they're starting to lay a little bit in and off, so it must be close. It must be close, but it looks like it's maybe a little further out than he wants to be. Let's see where that settles in. Oh, very close. Very close. Just probably a foot too far or a little bit less. So the shot is still there for 2. In fact, it's one of those unfortunate situations where you've probably made the shot for 2 a little bit easier. because now all he has to do is get inside that pocket, and he's even got backing with that rock that was just thrown, that if he gets to the inside of that rock, he will also count 2. So, very close. That's the life of a skip. You can be very close in your shot and still make things worse for yourself. But really, hopefully, they're still going to have, at the very worst, they'll be down 1 with the hammer. This one looks like it might be a little bit on the outside. It's coming in. It's going to be close. Let's take a look at it. Now it's coming in here. Yeah, he's caught the inside. Just. So I was just saying that rock that was just thrown, that gave him the boundary, the visual boundary to just get inside that. And so they will have counted 2. 2 for Peterson in the 7th end, a big 2. And they are now going to be 1 up coming home, but without the hammer. So, very interesting game indeed.
You should just put final and it'll put the X's on the website.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nothing for that end.
For
They
the-
ran them out of rocks.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't do anything.
And we have a final also. In the other games, I don't see the final score, but Norris was a winner over Poplar, and I think that last it was 7-3, so it will have ended in the 7th at some point. And also in the other game, Freeman defeated Sugden as Sugden ran out of rocks, I think, in the last end. So I guess the final score is probably 5-3. I don't know if they put another extra point in there or not. But either way, Freeman will win, and so will Norris. And that's the one victory that Robbins needed, was that Freeman would beat Sugden. So now Sugden has 3 losses. So now, indeed, if Robbins can come back and win this one and win his next one, he will be in that 4-way battle for 3rd place at 3-3. And my understanding is that if you have a 4-way tie, that the teams that have the best record among those 4 teams would be first to advance and the others would drop off. So there would be 2 teams at 2-1 and 2 teams at 1-2. So the teams at 1-2 would drop out of the picture. And then that you'd be left with the 2 teams at 2-1 for that 3rd place spot, and then they would have to go to the record against each other. So, Robin's still in it, and they're looking for a way to produce 2 here in this end. Peterson with his first rock. Long guard just off center. And Robbins with his first stone. Calling for it right at the top of the 4, and that's exactly where it ended up, as Logan Strand put it in the place that you like. Controlling the 4-foot area. Peterson looking to nudge theirs back a bit or freeze on top of it. Just a touch back. And Robbins, this is where you play the angles. So right now, Peterson has a good angle on that yellow, but if Robbins can get the freeze one to the inside of the blue, then the advantage goes to them. So Strand in the hack, taking a little extra time, knowing that the position of this rock is important. It's also maybe the last rock he's going to throw today, so, or at least in this game. All right, they're laying off of it so far. Looking like it's a little bit on the outside. It'll swing in at the end if the weight is right. It's good dying weight. Okay, so we got the freeze. Well, ideally, you'd want the freeze like that exactly on the other side of the rock, so that if something hit the front rock, the blue would spill and the yellow would stay. The way it is now, the yellows would move and the blue would stay. Okay. Here's a shot by the second for Peterson, Rowan Hunker.
And that's usually the case, honestly. The first draw or two,
Also trying to bump up front. And he rearranges those a little bit, and now you can see that lines up very well for the Blues, because if you hit either blue in the front, it's the yellows that are going to go and the blues that are going to stay. So Robbins is going to have to figure out a way to try to change the angles. Like, sometimes if you just, if you can hit the front rock a little off center, so the rock that was thrown kind of corner freezes to it, and then move the rock, their yellow rock that's behind, back 2 or 3 feet, you can eliminate the angles that are straight up to get your rocks eliminated with a nose hit. But it looks like they might be deciding to get rid of the guard. That's what they're talking about. And that would be maybe saying the angles aren't setting up very well, so I'd like to be able to have access to the house for my hits. And then you're maybe playing that you're looking to get your one and go for the extra end, or hoping for a miss later on that gives you an opportunity to get more than one. But they're not liking the way these things are shaped up, even though, like, if you just look at it, you say, but we're shot rock. No, but it's not set up very well. And so they're just going to peel, and they do, and that's good. Now we'll see what Peterson elects to do. At some point in the end, of course, Peterson's going to want to hit some of those blue rocks in there to eliminate the yellows, but he may well just put up a guard, as he is. Put up a guard and let Robbins peel the guard until sometime in the end that they plays on that blue rock that's biting the forefoot, because if he would hit that, he would be counting 2, likely. So they're just calling for a guard. This is the second, Rowan Hunker's second shot. So it went a little bit off center. So now it's a question of those rocks are available, but what can you do with them? If you hit the one on the biting the forefoot, a nose hit, and put yours and stuck yours right there, that would kind of turn the tables, but it's pretty hard to hit and keep your rock right on top. what's more likely going to happen is that you're going to roll partially away, and it allows the other team that they can eliminate it anyway. So it's a tough type of situation. The angles are such that they're challenging to move to your advantage. So Strand indicating maybe we could hit the top blue one in the house, roll a little bit over to the right, change up the angles a little bit. You don't necessarily have to remove them though. Like if you bump them to the back of the house, they can become, or even just a couple of feet, just so there's some separation, I guess, in the rocks. Anyway, tough situation. We'll see how they work their way out of it. So they didn't take the guard away this time, so that's interesting. I guess they feel that guard is not really a factor considering where the rocks are. So Zachariah's throwing his second stone. Looks like they are maybe playing on that front blue with some lightweight. Hit it and flop inside a little bit. Flop outside. Well, that's a pretty good way to change the angles. And now they're counting 2. So that's a decent result. There's still a couple of blues that are in very powerful positions that are going to have to be dealt with. And sometimes as a team you say, well, are we going to do it or are we going to let them do it? But at some point, actually, Peterson will have to deal with it. And now he's looking to get the top yellow, maybe getting a double. That would be ideal. And sweeping on it on the way down. Looks like he's a little on the outside. But that's a double. Perfect. Nice shot. So that definitely puts the pressure back on Robbins. Big shot there. So now again the team having to discuss, do we draw behind? Do we deal with those blues somehow? This is the advantage of not having a time clock, I guess. You know you've made it past the buzzer, and now you can talk for a while. So it looks like they're going for the draw. They need the 2 to win, and if they make it good, if they make it into the full 4, and they're going to have to be careful because they want it in the full 4, but they don't want it lined up behind their yellow in the house, because that rock is going to be driven back eventually unless somebody misses a shot. And when it gets driven back, you don't want it to be a double. So you'd want it on the edge of the full 4 or half 4, but on the edge from my angle to the left of where that current rock is. Okay, big draw here. It's way out there so far, but with the right weight it can come in. Now it's coming down for weight. It looks like it's going to be light. Not sure if that rock fooled them. They're on the outside ice, so sometimes when you go on the outside path, it's a little stickier, a little heavier. And they had to wait for the line, I think, and then they just got caught a bit. So that makes it fairly difficult, because now not only did it not go in, you also have the situation that it is blocking off a path to the 4-foot. So now Peterson has decided this is the time to play that double run back. Basically hitting any part of that front rock is going to eliminate the yellow in the back. They're on the outside, though. They are well on the outside. Well, like I said, any part, not zero part. It's hard not to do, as it wasn't a super easy port. It was definitely there, but you've got two guards kind of playing in your mind. But now I'm not sure. I mean, it's a miss, but how can Robbins take advantage of this miss? That's the question. He could draw around the top guard with the in-turn and put another one in the forefoot. Robbins is also looking at the possibility of a guard. If you have a long guard, that's going to make it very hard to get to those rocks that are lined up. And then you actually still have your two in play. But you need to have two of these guards. That's going to be the challenge. You have to have two guards that can't be run back. But it's not a bad. They are shot rocks, so the other team has to get at it. So make them chase. That's the other way to do it. All right, here comes the shot. So they're looking at a guard up near the top, maybe by the blue. Guard looks quite wide right now. Quite wide. I do not know if they're going to be able to close this off. They will not. They're hoping to get a little chip. Oh. Thought maybe that would even line up. Now they have left it totally open. Guard always seems like when you call it, you think, oh, that's the easy shot because I don't have to have perfect weight. I can be, I got a range of about 7 feet to make a good shot on a guard. But so hard to get the line. On ice like this where you have it swing quite a bit, you could get to near center and all of a sudden it curls an extra 2 feet and it opens it up. Or as in this case, what happened, just flipped it out a little bit and never caught the curl to come back. So it's not the easiest shot. It's not as easy as it looks, that's for sure. That's why you actually seldom see them on the men's curling. And also because in the men's curling and the high-level curling, they can always do some kind of angle raise that you didn't see before anyway. Okay, this one looks good. It's definitely going to be making contact unless they rack in the front. Oh. That was very close. They just narrowly got past that front guard. I think that surprised them. They thought they had room. They didn't seem like there was any panic. And then all of a sudden at the end. So, Robbins. The good thing for Robbins is that everything is relatively open. So the opportunity to score the one that he really needs is still a good possibility, of course. If he were to hit this one and get a little bit of an inside flop behind the front or even to the other side where he would be shot and kind of undercover, it does bring the two in play, but after the way things have been going, I think he'd be feeling okay, feeling like it's a victory to get the one. Taking some extra time, making sure he's all set. It's always a good idea. Go through your routines in the hack. Remind yourself of what are the key parts of what you're going to do. Looks like it's on the outside. They're sweeping to curl. It's definitely going to make contact. It's a matter of where it's going to end up. They did get the roll. They actually probably could have let that roll a little bit further, just to get it to the somewhat undercover of those two yellows. Yeah, if it rolled another foot, that would have been a tough shot to contend with. So Peterson has a room past the guard, and really, I mean, he would like to hit and stay on top of the 4 foot. That would be an ideal shot. Somewhere to force the hit, and that they'd have to stay. But if he just eliminates the rock as well, that does force the draw. So he's got to make contact. There's no need to get super close to the guard. They're sweeping hard. It looks like they're past, though. There you go. So he hit, nose hit right there. So now Robbins will have to decide, do I want to hit? And it looks like he's going for the indicated draw right off the hop. Now he's looking to his coach, wondering about it. You can play the hit, but you can't take the hit and roll to the outside. You can't roll away because you have to out count the blue that is almost fully in the 8. So, and if he would hit it and hit nose, he would not be shot rock, I don't think. He has to hit if he has to hit that front one and roll towards the center in order to count. I think yesterday I think Robbins had a similar situation, a little bit more complicated. He had to hit for the double or draw to the 4 foot. So in this case, he has decided to go for the draw. Yesterday he decided to hit for the double. So all comes down to this draw. The guard should not be a factor at all. Hopefully they're taking enough ice. But they do want to get near to the center line to get their maximum amount of target that they can work with. So they basically need to be just a piece of the 4, of course, would be enough. A little bit better than full 8. So we'll watch the sweepers on this one. They're laying off so far. A little bit of cleaning. It's definitely not going to be light. Definitely, yes, it is going to be going through. Yeah, it's so hard to leave that to the sweepers on the final shot, and it's also so hard to just get yourself calm and not let the adrenaline give that extra Newton a push on that rock, and that's what happened there. A really good game by both teams. Both teams had plenty of opportunities to take control of the match. Peterson was in control at the beginning. So how does this work out now for the standings? So that means that Peterson will finish at 4-2. We saw Freeman and Norris both win theirs, so they're at 4-1. So the worst they can do is 4-2. And Olafson is also 3-2. They will be playing Team Robbins later, so they can also finish at 4-2. Now I'm trying to think about the other game that's there. Yeah, in the final match, Freeman is playing Norris as well. And so one of those teams will have to have a second loss, right? So either Norris or Freeman will have 2 losses. Peterson will finish with 2 losses. And if Olesen wins their game against Robin this later on today, they will also have 2 losses. So if Olesen wins, there will be a 3-way tie for second place. And they'll have to look at how they did against each other. I haven't looked at those head-to-head matches to see who has the edge there. But still, a lot to be decided among those teams. So the teams that are still in the mix, Team Norris, Team Olesen, Team Freeman, and Team Peterson. So those are the 4 teams that are all could finish at 4-2 or 5-1. We do know that one team, Freeman or Norris, will finish at 5-1, and we do know that if Olesen wins, we'll have 3 teams at 4-2. And so also just to round out the women's side, a lot going on there again as well. The situation there is the same in both pools. Those games get underway at 12:30. In those pools, you have in Pool B, Team Dana Wall from Altona is 3-0, so they're in the driver's seat. Team Caris Buchalter is 3-1, so they've finished all their games. But the situation is that Wall is playing Team Hayward from Carmen, who's 3-1. So if Hayward beats Wall, we'll have 3 teams at 3-1. And on the women's side, it's the top 2 teams that advance. And in that case, they will have all been 1-1 against each other. So it will go down to the draw to the button. If Wall wins, all of that is academic. Wall will finish in first, and then Buchalter will finish in second. It's the same situation in Pool A. Beaudry is in the driver's seat. They're 3-0. And they're playing Van Rysel, who is 2-1. And so excuse me. Okay, I think I got those names. I got those teams wrong. Sorry, I'll explain that better. In Pool B, Team Wall is 3-0. In Pool B, it's Team Benson that's 3-1 and is already finished, waiting to see what's going to happen. But it is Wall that's going to be playing Team Hayward from Carmen. In Pool A, Beaudry is in the driver's seat. Buchalter is the one that's finished, and Beaudry will play Van Rysel. So same situation there. Could have a 3-way tie, which means it will go down to the button draw. And if you look ahead in the button draw, right now the way it's standing, both Wall and Beaudry have a good advantage going into that. So a lot's happening. I just invite you to come down to the curling rink and check it all out. The curling is great. Lots of excitement here. The food's great. And I will be broadcasting, or we will be streaming again tonight at 7:30 when the playoffs start. And that will be just the women's. It'll be the women's first place teams playing each other from each pool, with the winner advancing straight to the final and the loser dropping down to the semis. And it'll also be the second place teams from each pool for the women, with the winner going to the semis and the loser being eliminated. So that's tonight at 7:30. We'll stream that. As far as draws here, 12:30 will be the last of the women's draw, and at 4 will be the last of the men's draw. And then, of course, tomorrow everything comes to a conclusion with the semifinals at 9 o'clock and the finals at 1 o'clock. So thank you for joining us for this broadcast, a very exciting match. Hopefully you have a chance to come down here, and if you don't, catch us later. Thank you very much.